Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with Len Swanson from the Tech People's Revolutionary Alliance. How are we doing, Len? We're doing good?
Doing good, brother. Doing good.
Awesome. I want to thank you for number one for standing up for Texans and standing up and protecting small businesses, because this is basically what you all have been doing since this COVID-19 Wuhan flu started. Tell me a little bit more about the organization and how it started.
Well, we've been very active, of course, in regaining control of our fractured GOP party for many years. And of course, I work with Dr. Stephen Hotze of the Hotze Wellness Clinics here in Houston, and with our attorney, Jeff Whitfield, who was also at one time the Harris County party chairman, and has held many different positions here in Houston, and is one of the more revered constitutionalist attorneys. And we filed numerous filings in state, Texas Supreme Court, and in the federal courts. We just filed, and I can send you a link to the filing, in which we've got 1,300 other patriots that are being co-defendants in our suit against the state and Governor Abbott for doing like in our states, all this coronavirus hoax is a total infringement on our constitutional rights.
Absolutely.
So we've taken 2 steps. We have mobilized a veterans militia, and we're fighting this in the courts. And day one, any of the businesses that were under our banner was protected by the militia, and none of those businesses have ever been shut down. And that's what we're trying to teach other areas to do. The power is that you get to piggyback onto our legal filings, but more importantly, by organizing your own militia brigades, so then you can tie in with the larger state network. But it begins with you locally, getting with the other veterans and then training other civilians to be part of your militia. Because we already know our Second Amendment rights are very strong here in the state of Texas. But local officials see that you have an organized, armed, emphasis armed militia, and you're willing to stand up against them. At least here in Houston, they backed out. And of course, you heard about the incident in Odessa. And we defeated the sheriff there too. So it's not just Democrats jacking with us. Some of our own people have tried to jack with us too. But there's so many of us, and because a lot of us also have a voice within the Republican Party. In Odessa, of course, the Republican commissioners threatened the sheriff there that if he didn't back off, because of course they're now being sued for arresting unconstitutionally 5 of the freedom fighter militia members, that they were going to fire that sheriff because they had over 300 militia show up this past weekend in Odessa. And so it sent a very large message across Houston. Besides what we did to protect the Alamo, what we're doing to protect the San Ysidro Monument right now. And of course, we are now with this new filing that Governor Abbott somehow lost his balls, or his wife didn't give him his balls back, relinquished, and is reversing his previous stand-up. No, you can't fine, arrest any citizen for not wearing a mask. Because wearing a mask cannot be mandated. It is not a public safety criteria that says you must arbitrate your constitutional rights as guaranteed under the First and Fourth and Second Amendments, that we're not going to just roll over and die.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me to wear a mask to protect you.
Absolutely.
Period.
What under this ruling that he made yesterday, especially our governor, and how he caved to the socialists of San Antonio and some of the other cities, it is very hard to fathom, because a lot of these mayors and county judges have already tasted the power of tyranny, and they're going to expand on it. Yesterday here in Laredo, Texas, they passed that they can fine up to $1,000, I believe. But is it to the business? Is it to the person? It's not
across the board. It's across the board.
It's across the board.
That's what, by the governor rescinding his executive order that prohibited them from doing that, he set a stage for groups like ours who has a large militia contingent. It's going to go up against the Democrats here in Houston, both at the city and county level and says, all right, you faced this before on the field battle and you retreated. Now we're going to see if you can convince your police officers and deputies to put their lives on the line with the citizens who's actually paying their salaries. And this is unconstitutional. So what the difference is they know this Vietnam veteran has no problem putting his life on the line again, nor the men that follow me put their lives on the line again to protect citizens who can't protect themselves. That's the point of having a militia. It's protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Bottom
Absolutely.
line.
Now, here's going to be a couple of questions that I'm going to ask. How can for those out there in some small community that wish to form a militia, how's the way you form a well-regulated militia? What are the steps?
Well, and I have, and you're not the only ones that have asked me that. I even get ministers across the South who are tired of having their churches threatened or burned,
Absolutely.
to not turn the cheek anymore and to get their flock to protect themselves. But they know that there's more to it than just pointing a gun at somebody. You got to be trained. There's specific tactics and the element of team engagement, much like you were trained in the military. So I tell those who don't already have an active militia in their area, but they want to form their own. It begins simply because there's very few communities that don't have a
I lost your audio.
you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. So you go to your local American Legion or VFW, and you just begin talking to the group of guys that are there. Of course, you're going to want to talk to someone that's of a master sergeant or chief master sergeant or a senior officer who has had combat training, but also potentially is a SEAL or Delta Force or Ranger MOS. All right. And tell them you want assistance in creating your own militia force, and for them to get their membership to assume another call to duty. I don't know too many who have taken the time to become members of an American Legion or VFW who are not willing to retake their oath, because under the oath it also calls not just foreign but domestic terrorists too. And so when we say what BLM and the Democratic Socialist Party is espousing, and they've been doing since President Trump was elected, usurping our constitutional rights,
Right.
the tenets of our Constitution. How is that not in the constraints of what Alexander Hamilton and many others have espoused in the formation and said that in this compact that we have now formed for those that are going to be calling themselves American citizens under the Constitution, The Constitution is only as strong as the citizens are willing to protect. So you have it within your constitutional rights as guaranteed under the Second Amendment, the First and the Fourth Amendment, to form a people's motion.
Sure.
Additionally, the state of Texas, because of the strong Second Amendment rights of being able to defend your property, your place of business, with pretty much any weapon, as long as it's registered, you can legally engage those that are trying to impede upon your constitutional rights. So that, what does that mean? Well, that means these freaking Democrats who have the audacity to think that they use the bullshit public safety of saying you've got to wear a mask or I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to fine you. Well, bullshit. Come on. Just come try to do it. Or force my business to not open up its doors. Force my business to mandate it's got to have everybody wear masks. Constitutionally, you can't. But the only way that you stop it is by creating a deterrent. It's just like everything else. As President Trump and other strong constitutionalists, your deterrent is only as good as your resolve to use armed resistance or military force.
Absolutely. You know, what I see here is I saw the bullying of small businesses into submission in the state of Texas. Everybody comes out and says the non-essentials or the essentials, and that to me is this derogatory term, but they come out and they say the police and the nurses are the ones that protected the community. No, they were not. It was the small businesses, the small business owners that voluntarily closed their business for the community's safety, and they were screwed left and right.
But not here in Houston. Not all businesses closed. The ones that were under our umbrella with our militia protection pretty much told all the Democrats part of this that you not understand. We are not closing down. You can constitutionally not require us to close down because this is all bullshit to begin with. You know, this was a contrived fake crisis because as I've repeatedly written about, talked about on shows and other podcasts, when has our nation ever cared about 1% of our population? When is 1% of a population dictated to the other 99% of how you're going to put your pants on? Never.
Absolutely.
Not in the history of our nation. 99% is
not in the history of the world.
Well, thank you. So I'm sorry. 1% is never going to tell this Norwegian how to put on his pants. No one has actually even. And anybody that knows me knows that you can't tell Norwegian shit to begin with, you know? So it just is what it is. So,
You know,
that's the difference of true warriors and people that have had it within their family history.
you see, I'm gonna say something here, Lynn. Right now, we're at a point of time that we have all the ingredients. They're waking up the American patriot,
Right.
the one that will sit down, drinking coffee, taking care of his grandchildren, doing a hobby, painting, cooking, whatever. He just stopped doing that he has put aside, and he's saying enough of this.
Exactly.
crap. A lot
Exactly.
of skilled individuals in the United
Well, you've always got that component within any society that's sheep, that
well
and
trained by the best army in the world, in the history of man, which is the U.S. So with that being said, we're already, a lot of people are talking about a
well, that's
second
just
civil
it.
war.
The history of the world, it's always taken that proven warrior to stand up and say no more. All right. It's always been in our nation, especially recent times, that there is that proud 1% that would stand up to protect those that cannot protect themselves.
Absolutely.
Now it's evolved, unfortunately, Paul. It's evolved to where those patriots, like myself and many others, of course, I'm not the only one. There's hundreds of us across the nation that have mobilized our veteran base and are in the process of training civilians, because it's not a matter of knowing how to shoot a weapon or how proficient you are in maintaining that weapon, but you've also got to have the mental resolve to kill another human being. That takes special mental psychic, and of course, I have no nightmares over those that chose to challenge me and try to take my life. I never have, but that's the way I was raised as a child, being of Norwegian heritage and being of Viking heritage. You're trained to be a warrior. It's part of your mental psychic. But there again, you have to be taught it. You got to taught to work as a team, not an individual. If you're going to go up against other civilian security forces, be it of whatever nature. But that's the power of our forefathers saw, knowing that given the nature of man, there would be those eventually
I lost you again. I lost you.
All right, now I'm back on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
All
hear
right.
you.
Throughout time, there has been that challenge to diminish our Constitution. But it's behooving then upon those like myself and yourself and many others that says, bullshit.
It ain't gonna happen.
Roll over. It ain't gonna happen. But
No,
you got to take the time now, as what we did here in Houston, and reach into that base of veterans and do a call to duty. Get them to see that we're at that transition point, especially within your community, that there are those that are not even trying to cover it up. They are blatantly violating your constitutional rights, but because no one's challenging them, they're just doing it. Well, here we challenged them, and we challenged them with the resolve that we'll kill you. We will use our weapons to defend our rights. Now, the choice you got to make: are you willing to sacrifice your life to defend your position? When it comes to Democrats, they don't have that resolve. They've proven that time and time in our engagements that they'll back down because they don't want to lose their lives. And when they see that we're willing to take their life to protect our constitutional rights, and then know in a court of law that most courts will then not find us guilty of defending our constitutional rights, and if we put it in the context of Texas law, that allows us to do so with a weapon? The only thing that's left is for men to have the resolve to do so.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with what you're saying. I'm also in agreement with that we need to stop a lot of these politicians that have already gotten the feel of tyranny, and we have to remove them from office. And we need to remove them from office, whether recalled or vote them out or simply not support them. There's no more of this. In November, there's no more of this. I'm going to vote straight party line, left and right. No, not even. Because there's some Republicans that have turned out to be bigger Democrats than Democrats, you know?
Exactly.
Yesterday we have a Democrat want to be Republican sitting as governor.
But the patriots on both sides, you got to search them out. And as long as someone is a constitutionalist, believes in our Constitution, our right to bear arms, and if need be, remove that person as Alexander Hamilton calls for. The citizens don't have to wait for elections. If that person is that corrupt and intent on infringing on your rights, you have the right through a people's tribunal to hold that person accountable. Understand,
Absolutely.
police forces have only been really in existence since about the 1840s. I mean, as far as an organized institution, it was people's militias that protected their community.
Absolutely. So that being said, everybody always comes out with the well-regulated militia, and that needs to be done, and that needs to be more.
Right.
What the Wuhan flu
That's
taught
why
me.
you gotta have trained veterans.
Absolutely.
You have to have veterans. They've been trained for combat, trained in the psychics, but also trained in the element of operating as a team. Not lone wolves, not vigilantes, but as a trained, armed people.
Absolutely. And that has to be done. We also, we'll touch base a little bit more. I know you all have a rally tonight that you all are going to over in Houston.
And then based on what, tonight at 6 o'clock, and so I should maybe most likely be on channel 2 or channel 11 news here, in which I'm going to try to get the police back online because the president of the HPD association came out when all this bullshit began and said his officers were not going to get in the middle of this. They were not going to enforce the city and county's decrees to arrest and fine people for not wearing masks or shutting down businesses. They were not going to do it because of what? Because of our militia. And because of the fact that the citizens were paying their salaries, not these bureaucrats, but the people were paying the salaries to provide protection. But not to use those officers as Gestapo to shut them down.
Absolutely.
That's where we draw the line.
Absolutely.
So Friday, tomorrow, we may do something very rash, but that's why we're evaluating. Hopefully that Turner will come up today. Mayor Turner, I call him Comrade Turner, and Comrade Hildego, our Democratic commissioner, county commissioner. They will come out with a decrease as to how they want to re-implement this restriction of mandating mandatory mask usages. And so once we see what they're actually espousing, much like your city council was doing yesterday, once you have that, now you have the basis of then fighting it legally. and with the militia. You know what to target. You don't target it with just one or two people. You go there in mass. And you challenge them and says, what part of we are not going to adhere to your unconstitutional decree do you not understand? And if you think you're man or woman enough to tell me otherwise, then don't send your police force. Come yourself and bring a gun. And let's see who comes out of this situation.
Absolutely.
Because when you do that, they're cowards. They will never do it. Go back down. And they'll stop. Because if they don't get the police force to enforce it, they're fucked. Let's face it. They can't do shit unless they got the Gestapo willing to enforce it. But if your police forces know that they're going to come up against a well-organized people militia, especially run and commanded by veterans who prove themselves in battle, they know it will not be a winning scenario for them. Because they're also facing guys that are just as armed as they are, all right, with the same armaments. But see, our resolve is different. They're being paid to try to suppress us. No one's paying us. We're doing it because we believe in it and we're willing to sacrifice our lives. They don't have that same resolve. So that, like anything else in military operations, what is the difference between winning and losing a battle? Is which soldier, which warrior has the greater resolve to win in that conflict. It's much like in your martial arts training. A lot of defeating your opponent is up here.
Absolutely. And that's where things change. You see, Laredo is heavily Democrat, and Laredo has some great police officers, but also has a lot of bullies in blue. And they've extremely to the side that they were going out and about actually harassing people during the Wuhan flu crisis and the lockdown, into people, looking behind people's fences and looking into their yard to see how many people were playing in their backyard and then giving $4,000 tickets. That's the type of police officer that we have here.
That's where you then take your gun and just shoot them. All right.
No, so I had a slew of photographs. People were telling me of police officers looking into people's windows, peeping toms and stuff. I mean, this is just ridiculous of how the abuse of power, of how they did it under the color of law.
But then again, it goes back onto the citizens to say bullshit.
It's not going to happen anymore.
And go ahead and start shooting them. All right. Don't be afraid to shoot basically who's a criminal. If they come onto your property without a warrant, they can be. You understand? In Texas, if a police officer comes onto your property without a warrant, and it's no different than basically a trespassing criminal, you can shoot their ass, and there's no state, Texas Supreme Court would uphold you being charged for shooting that individual because they had no business being on your property. They were trespassing. And in Texas, you don't trespass on a man's property without the fear of being shot.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's important.
Well, Len, we're running out of time, but I want to thank you for standing up and protecting Texans in your area and leading the charge forward. Also, I want to wish you all best of luck tonight over in your all's rally. And we will be having more conversations, believe me.
Well, Paul, I'm just telling you, it's not luck. It's just Norwegian pride and training. And what part of "we'll kick your ass" did you not understand the first time? And so the thing is, for Houston, this is not our first encounter. We've been doing this repeatedly. But like I keep talking about, unless you have the resolve and you mobilize and you're willing to engage them, when they know that you're willing to engage them and you draw a real red line, and they know if they cross that red line, much like them, well, definitely we don't use rubber bullets. We use good Texas lead. All right. And so they know if we shoot, and we're not shooting just to wound them. That's the difference. When you go into combat, you don't go with the intentions of wounding them. All right. If you're going to cross swords with us, then understand our engagement at that point in time is a life and death consideration. And that's not a crazy fanatic. That's not a right-wing nut. No, this is a patriot saying, if you jack with my constitutional rights, that's your folly, right? Because I'm going to kill you.
You know, you're absolutely correct, because the abuse of power is gone already to the left. It's gone. It's out of the field. It's no longer in the field. It's gone. And we have to either vote people in that are going to bring it back into the playing field, or we have to change it. And we've seen what is going on in the other cities. We've seen the destruction that's being done, and it's all in Democrat cities. And for our own police just to sit back and watch people break windows and loot and do nothing while they're watching this, that means they're either too afraid or they're allowing it. And to me, this needs to stop. Your audio.
If it's a democratically controlled city, then your police forces are complicit. That's why we here in Texas deployed our militia and trained the citizens and educated them that it was their right to defend their properties. So when you look at Texas, this is of course what pissed off the Democrats and the BLM, is that Texans stood up and defended their own property, defended their own lives. Oh, and shot them. You know, when you shoot these suckers, they run. Because then now they said, oh shit, we can get killed. This ain't like in other states where they just roll over and let you come in and steal the property. No, you're going to get shot here, and the police will eventually come in and assist you. But unless you're willing to defend yourself, like in this situation, you don't wait until the last minute and then you have no recourse. Right now, we have recourse. It's a constitutionally protected recourse. We have the right to remove an elected official, and not just by recall or through an election. You can rise up as a people's militia and remove that entity. You don't have to wait. The Constitution was written, and Alexander and Hamilton and many others wrote specifically empowering you, the citizen, that if you unite together as a unit and tell that person either leave your office or we'll forcibly remove you from that office. We're not putting up with your bullshit anymore. You're not going to infringe on our rights. But unless you're willing as a citizen to unite other citizens and lead that battle, you're going to be, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen. Well, Len, I want to thank you once more. I'm going to go ahead and end this because our time's going to be running out. But I want to thank you for standing up for Texans and standing up for small businesses. And this fight is just beginning.
Well, like I said, Houston might be the new Bunker Hill. And you know, I might be that first person to fire that their first shot. I'm just here to tell you. And so, and they know it, because I've always parlayed with the police. I've always gone and talked to them to establish our red line boundaries and establish rules of engagement like they used to do in days of old. Those tactics still apply so that they know that you're not some crazy fanatical, but that you are a true patriot. And you're doing this on constitutional premises. And so they decide what side of that fence do they want to be on? They want to be on the constitutional side, or they want to be on the despot side? Do they want to be looked at as negatively and be called Gestapo, or do they want to be considered a patriot? So that's what got to go through their minds. But it should be too difficult, because at the end of the day, it was you, it is I, it is any taxpaying citizen who's paying their salaries. It's not the bureaucrats paying their salaries, because we actually pay those traitor bastards their salaries, which needs to end.
Right.
But see, that's the confusion that's going on in Texas, that within our own party, we're our own worst enemies because we're fractured. We're not united, the Democrats, and that's why the Democrats are kicking us, in the ponies. Is that they beat us in our own game, but not my neighborhoods. You guys were saying bullshit. If you think that you're going to run over as you're elected, think again. You have the Constitution to adhere to. You don't adhere to the Constitution, guess what? I got something that will say that you will. I'm willing to use it. And they know it. They said, we could call you a terrorist. Well, they call me a terrorist. Go right ahead. You know where I live. Come knock on my door. Hasn't happened yet. I don't think it will.
Well, number one, you're no terrorist. You're a patriot. And again, let's do the best tonight, and let's keep moving this forward. All right?